Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is for the special election.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming out on a rainy night. And I guess the main topic is going to be the budgeting process. But the other thing that we'd like to do is, I don't know everybody, and I thought we'd just go around and introduce everybody to who's here, for any new members or any boards. So I'll start. I'm David McDougall. I live down on 140 Russellville Road, and I've been a selectman on and off since 2004. I took a year off last year.
I'll go. Ann Roy, I've been here, oh my gosh, 6 years. It's a long time. I live right around the corner, 7 Elm Street. Don't ask me if I walk or I drive, but anyway.
I'm Jackie Sears. I've been on the board for a year and a half. I live on Ecocher Road, and I find this very interesting board.
Can't leave it like that.
That's as far as I'm going.
John Martin, Clark Street, I guess my third term, so 9 years. I'm the current chair.
Derek Gazer, been here a few years. I don't know how many exactly. I've taken a couple year terms, and this is my 3-year term.
Linda Summers, I live on Helen Drive. This is my first term, and being low person on the totem pole last year, I'm the secretary.
Who would like to? Mark Reed, Brickyard Road, Chairman of the Park Commission. I've been there 5 years.
Jenna Brown, Community Preservation Committee.
Judy Snyder, Rattle Hill Road. I've been here on and off since 1987. Board of Assessors.
Anna Pat, Valley Road, and this is my first year. Board of Assessors.
Dr. Priscilla, White Hill Road. I'm on the Board of Assessors. Third year, I think.
Barbara Golden, on the Library Director. I finished 1 year.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Linda Saltmarsh, Library Trustee. Debbie Pensky, Library Trustee. Whiteley, Treasurer Collector. Vicki Morrow, Town Account, 6 months.
And counting.
Lisa Broder again, I'm on Caitlin Way, and I'm the Chair of Board of Health. And I think it's 6 months. Feels longer.
Who's in the back row back there?
Joe Bianca, Gilbert Road. I'm just here to...
Oh, okay.
What's going on?
All right. Is the chief back there?
Another new guy, 8 months, interim chief, Bill Cleaner.
Jerry Swanson, citizen.
Haley Kutcher, Town Clerk, 20+ years.
Very good.
On 11 Friar Road.
She wins.
She wins. Again, thanks. Thanks for all coming out. This all boards thing was really sort of meant for something along those lines when it first started, so that everybody could see who all the other volunteers were in town, taking time to actually help the town succeed. But tonight, we're just going to move towards finance, and I'm going to turn over to John to talk about zero budgeting and have him explain that for
Before we do that, do we skip you, Reggie?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
No, it's not.
No, I'm sorry, Reggie, I apologize.
It's all good. I'm Reggie.
How long have you been in the office, Board of Selectmen's office now?
Almost 7 years.
Oh, wow. You started when Brenda was unable to be there.
Yep.
And then have stuck right along. Thank you. All right.
I can tell you, time flies.
As time
flies. Gosh. When Bill said 8 months back there, I went, well, really? A long time. Okay, so Finance Committee, as far as budgets go, we're into the fiscal 14 budget year, of course, which is always fun. We never have enough money to do what we need to do, and kind of pits department against department, which we hate to see. But right now, Reggie has sent out notices to all the different departments, and the budget sheets asking you to submit them. Actually, I can see without these. Asking you to submit them to us, and we have meetings set up now through March, exactly. So we're meeting. We're meeting individually with all the departments that want to meet with us. A couple small ones kind of declined and just gave us the information. So what we want to see is your first run at the budget, if you will. And it's a zero-based budget where you kind of build it from the base up. We're saying you don't have any money for next year, tell us what you need, rather than here's what you had last year and you want to layer on top of it. So it's kind of justifying it. And that's a good part because a lot of you folks don't get a chance to say, here's what we really need. Library, for instance, never has any maintenance money in there, and it's an opportunity for them to put a line item for maintenance or whatever. So we want to see what you really want. Obviously, we don't have all the money in the world, so we're going to go back and forth with you and try to figure out what's good. We saw, what, 3 or 4 departments so far, and I think all of them were level funded at their request, which was fine with us. But there's going to be some budgets where you want more than you have now. So we're going to have to sit down and talk with you, and hopefully you can convince us that that's something you should have. So we'll support that going into the select board meetings and then into the town meetings. But we want to go there with the same understanding as you have. We don't want all of a sudden to be a surprise and ask the finance committee, well, are you supporting this? And we're going to say, gee, we didn't hear about it till just now. So we want to work with you through the process. Our goal is just to make sure you get what you need and within the budget. And those are 2 goals that go like this all the time. So it's always a chore.
John, not to pick on you, can you explain to where our money comes from and how it's increased each year? Could you explain that? New growth.
Comes from the town and the taxes, and everybody's heard of Proposition 2.5. Donna can probably address that just well. We can only raise our revenues by that 2.5% each year, and you get an increase, or the salaries for the school are within contracts, the police are within contracts. Everything rolls up to more than 2.5%. New growth, you get. We've been lucky with new growth, excise tax. Vicki or Donna, any other big sources there?
Well, and also the state money that we get on the cherry sheet.
Cherry sheet, that's
So
our money from the government.
basically the 2 big, it's taxes and cherry sheet money.
And we get free cash every year, and it's certified now at 497, is it?
Pardon?
What is it certified at?
$626,800.
626?
$7.
We've been waiting for this.
626?
Why such a big jump?
Wow.
Because we were looking at, what, 497 last time?
Well, because the number I submitted to them included the loss or the over expenditure for the Halloween store, which they took out of there because it was a legal over expenditure.
Yeah.
Because we got permission to do it. Donna borrowed the money for that. When we get the rest of the FEMA money, whatever's left over, we're going to have to take out of free cash to cover the balance of that.
Ballpark.
Probably is about $94,000, $97,000. Plus, anything we already voted on, which we weren't supposed to do in September and November, need to get deducted from that money, which would be the tires, the tire dump, the money for the workman's compensation, and then I forget the other $35,000 one we had in there for, I think it was the gas pumps maybe. So that all has to get deducted from that number.
Okay, so quickly, that brings us well below $500,000. Probably less than we were thinking. We were thinking 497, but with this new number minus those deductions, that's probably less. I almost said, great, we got an extra 125,000, but that's not the
Is
case.
that including 112 that we took out?
No.
So
So we have to deduct that from there also, if we wanted to put that back into the
Right.
stabilization fund,
Yeah,
so.
and that's one of the issues we talked about at the town meeting. Are we going to have the money to put it back in?
We do now.
Yeah, and so, yeah, and we were at the town meeting where we took money from the operational stabilization and we hope to put it back in. That would come from that free cash too. So the free cash is going like this.
So explain free cash. It's not really free cash. It's from my sense, like almost like lucky bucks that come in after. Am I right? It's not really free cash. It's not like someone printing money. So can you explain?
I don't know all the details how
Well,
it
the
generates.
cash is based on the under expenditures that when we appropriated the money that we voted on at town meeting, whatever you didn't spend and any revenues that were over collected, combined with, other overlays for the assessors, those pieces all together fund that free cash number.
It's an oxymoron anyways.
Yeah.
It's not really free cash. But the problem that we have every year is we spend the free cash. Our budgets take all the money and they eat it up and they spend it. So we'd like to put it into stabilization accounts. We have an operational one that the town has. We have a capital stabilization fund for buying equipment, cruisers or whatever. That's up to, I don't know, 200-something thousand? Is that right?
I thought it was less than that.
No, it's
It may be.
130,000
Just got some nice
maybe.
reports. No, we just got, how much was it?
It's like $125,000, $130,000.
So when I look it up, we'll take our word for it.
What we try to do is, we've tried to, as the Board of Selectmen, is we've tried not to use the free cash to balance the budget, but to put into these funds for rainy days, which I think we were able to do a couple of years ago when I was here before. So that fund was there, so when we had a technical issue at the town meeting, we had the funds to actually proceed and take the 112 that we'll put back. So those are important funds to have. So then we have the 2.5%, which is the state law, that we can raise the line, plus new growth. And new growth, in my interpretation, is new home sales. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. Is that about right?
No, inspections, any renovations.
Fees.
Anything that wasn't on the rolls before.
So, I thought new growth was also how many homes there were sold or built this year, coming up. So I talked to Rich, and we have about the average number, we have about 26 new homes since last fiscal year. So those homes will now be on the tax roll, so that's part of the new growth that I understood.
Yeah, that's part of it, yeah.
But with that also brings in more needs, more roads.
Yeah, more needs, they have more children in town, the school budgets. And this year, we're just talking about the Hampshire Regional School budget. They're projecting a $457,000 increase over last year. That's preliminary, but that's all the free cash plus some, if indeed that went through. And the problem we have with that is we're in the Hampshire Regional District, and there's 5 towns. If 4 towns vote to approve the budget, the 5th town has to go along. And we're 52% of the Hampshire regional budget. And in the past years, the other towns got very small increases, so they voted for it. And we just had to fund it. And by funding that, it comes out of, the rest of the departments are free cash.
I think that happens in this current fiscal year also, where what we passed at town meeting is less than what was actually the percentage that was approved. And so we're going to be short in that Hampshire Regional by like 90,000.
And that's one of the things we talked about at the town meeting, why not to pass it, but the town meeting is great except when people vote on it, there's a lot of emotion in the voting, and they're not thinking where the funding is coming from. So they'll vote for a new person here or new this there, and then it's up to us to find out where the money is, and the money is only in one pot. And so you go back to the pot and you start stirring it up again. So that's the issue. That's the good and the bad of voting at town meeting. It's nice to vote, but we got to make sure we present where the monies are coming from.
Yeah, we had someone one year come up and vote an override to cover $100,000 or something like that. Knowing quite well that it's not going to pass, but the audience was packed with, representatives from the school, and it passed. And of course, when it came for the override, it failed, and so $100,000 had to be taken out of our operating budget.
Yeah.
Which, when you look at the big picture, what's the overall budget, like 13, 14?
It's 14.
14 million.
This year.
Certain percentage of that, almost 3/4, is the school set aside, if I'm incorrect. The school budget's about anywhere around $70 million, all schools together. And then what things that we have to pay for, contracts and stuff like that, another $3 million, I think.
Yeah, we have a very small portion of the budget that we can play with.
It gets down to about $4 million, roughly around $4.
About a 13, 14 million, we can play with 4. So if you have to cut $500,000, you only have $4 million to cut it from, and that's 1/8 of it.
Right.
So that's where it comes. In the library's budget, I don't know off the top of my head, what's your total budget, remember, for the year?
Let's see, for this year, 105,000.
The 105,000, you can look for that everywhere. I mean, you can wipe out a library with, which nobody wants to do, but that's how delicate the balance is in here.
So, Mr. Chair of the Finance Committee, you could see free cash as it's a place where that money can be distributed depending on needs. It's not restricted in the way other...
That's the free part, I guess.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, that's how I see it, the free part. He
Yeah.
can freely
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't have to go to a particular pot,
put with the pots.
which is good because there's a lot of pots out there.
But you gotta be careful though. If you take $400,000 in free cash and you fill in the gaps in your budget, next year's budget won't have that quote-unquote free cash, and then you're gonna see your budget go down. So it's always better that we try to just not use all that money to balance the budget, because it may not be there next year, and then you'll be taking a whack.
That's the problem. We've been fortunate, we've been up here, and all of a sudden it's just gonna drop off.
You know, if you hire somebody and you're funding them out of that money, how are you gonna fund their position?
And that's one of the things, and Chief Silvernail's not here, I want to use him as an example, but it's not a bad example. He needed another police officer at town meeting last year, I guess it was, and he wanted $25,000 for that police officer for the rest of the year, and he went up there and gave his case, and that's his job and how he does it, and they voted okay. But the next budget year wasn't $25,000, it's $60,000 for the full year, plus benefits, plus training. So the people at town meeting didn't realize they're approving $80,000, every year thereafter. And that's his job, he did it, and that's what every town department head has to do to get a piece of that pie. But people don't realize that. You try to explain it at the town meeting, but there's some motion there.
But John, I would agree with you, that we want you to be as greedy as possible.
Yeah.
But mind you, that when we're sort of holding things up, it's because we're talking about the bigger picture of how things move forward.
Yeah.
But your job is to advocate for the departments that you're within to get the fundings that you need.
And our point of view, I think we're pretty all neutral in the sense that, excuse the expression, we don't care how much you need, we care how you bring it to us and explain it to us, and we can support it, because that's your job, that's what you get paid for, and you know the department much more than we do. I mean, we may not know that you're having a shortage in one area until you bring it up. So, and we have a reserve fund, which is $34,000.
That's the $34,000.
That's just managed by the finance committee, that people come to and say, this is an expense I didn't know about, and we can give you some money. Obviously, $34,000 is very small, but we dole that out during the year.
Is there any questions about the process and where the money comes from?
Any ideas on how to get more? Or always willing for that? By the way, if you put town of Southampton in your will, it comes, we'll name something after you.
How do you want to do this?
The assessors and the library are here for sure, and fire. Yeah, do we have specific questions on the budgets, or any pros or cons from your department's point of view? And Eileen's back there waving.
All right, for these elections, the new elections coming up, I have March 18th, the election, and the caucus is coming March 28th. State primary April 30th, annual town election May 6th, and the state primary June 25th. So I'm going to need in my budget, because right now I have left, and this is all in 2013 budget. This is all before July 1st.
Did you say June 25th was?
The election for senator, right?
Is it the special?
Yeah, the senatorial.
And primary is in April 30th, and the senator is June 25th.
Yeah.
Plus our elections.
Eileen, where's your line?
Pardon?
Whereabouts is your line in the budget?
It's almost 3/4 way down. Election registers,
Okay.
expenses,
In wages, I see it.
in wages, expenses.
So you got 3 lines there, okay.
So, in my wages, I have $393.65 left.
Okay, what is it that you need?
Well, for the state primary, for the workers, it's going to be $913 for each the state primary and the regular state one. For our elections, annual town election, it's going to be $568 for the workers. The caucus costs me about $100 because I do my own ballots. I have them on the computer, so we don't have to worry about that. Then for March 18th, the ballots that I just ordered, I'm supposed to order, we have over 4,000 registered voters, I'm supposed to order 4,000 ballots, but I don't. I ordered 2,500 of those and 50 absentees and 10 specimens. So the ballots are going to cost probably $1,500. And the coding for that one election will probably be $500. So that would go out of expenses, those two. Like I said, the caucus, I don't have anything. The state primary, I'm hoping that the state's going to pay for the ballots, but they won't pay for the coding. So the coding will be probably $1,000 because I have the auto cart, the handicap machine to code, and the regular machine to code. That's just a rough, because there's only one thing on the ballot, that's what I'm saying. And then the annual town meeting, the coding for both the auto cart and my regular machine will be about $1,000 each.
What'd you get for a total? 9,000 or something?
The total I got for everything in between is $10,261.84, around that. And I have $4,799 left. So I'll need about 6,000 to put in.
What do you think, Jim? About that?
And that's just the bare minimum. And we have to code the handicap one. A couple of years I forgot to do it, so it saved us $1,000. Don't say it. But nobody uses it.
So what happens if we get more than 2,500 coming out the polls? We're writing them by hand?
Nobody uses it, not even for the presidential. I have my girls use it just to make sure it's working right and everything. Nobody. And that machine costs $8,000. Nobody uses it. We've had it for 6 years now. It's a waste of money. But if I don't do it on our annual town meeting election, they'll give me an email and say, you know, you forgot.
Well, the positive side is people can walk in under their own power and not need it, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Yeah.
I wish somebody would use it.
If
Pardon?
you had more than 2,500 people want to vote, what happens when we run out of ballots?
Oh, I have absentees.
I should have known you had it covered.
I don't think we'll get 4,200 people.
That'd be nice.
Yes. That's it.
So you need that by this end of this year?
Yeah, so you're going to have to get it from reserve. That's the only place we have any money to do it with. So can you put in, document it? Of course, we're going to say, like everybody else, we got to run your line item down. But if you let us know it's coming, we can put like a placeholder in there and talk about it.
I'll bring the transfer up when I come to see you for the budget for next year.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. Now, is this an exceptionally high year because we're having extra town meetings or elections, or is this?
Well, the state, two elections, a primary and that, and then this debt exclusion election that was unforeseen. And
I just wondered for next year's budget if you need to increase it, or it just was a blip at the two state elections.
Yeah.
The debt exclusion's on the 18th, right?
Pardon?
March 18th. That's the
Is
debt
the
exclusion.
debt exclusion.
The roof. Our school roof.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the debt exclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's only going to be from noon to 8. And I decided not to go with our annual town election with the Senate because it would be double everything, double workers, double tables, double ballots, double this, double that. And I think for the girls that are working, there'd be too much confusion for them. And it really doesn't, you know, cost that much less, so, because I would have to double the girls that day and everything, so. I decided not to go and put them on the state. I'll have the primary April 30th and then I'll have May 6th, the next Monday.
No, you're the expert in that, so. So you're the expert in that, we go with what you say.
Okay.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Was it?
Any more good news from that? That's an extra 6,000 we don't have.
Okay.
Any other departments like to ask any questions, or?
Assessors, anything coming up out of the assessor's office, or?
Park Commission. The Labrie Field is going to come online. Currently, we don't have any budget numbers for maintenance of that. That's something that we need to request an increase in the budget. Talking with Ed Colley, who maintains all the parks and his crews, he's estimating that in salaries, probably $5,500 additional, and probably $2,500 in expenses.
Now, he's gonna maintain it out of his crew,
He does now all the parks,
but he's gonna pick that up as an ex.
and as of right now, the highway department's the only crew that we have that could maintain it.
So he should put it in his budget with a line item. for
No, it comes out of ours.
Comes out of yours?
Yes, because yeah. The Park Commission has 2 line items, salaries and expenses,
So how does he charge
and
it?
he draws from our account, so that we need to increase our account once the Labrie Field comes on.
I'd have a separate line just for that, so everybody would know where it's coming from.
Okay, is that how you want to do it?
Yeah, and if you have a separate line, we'll know right away where it's coming from, and when we go to the town to support it, it'll say that, other than just see an increase in one line, it'll have an explanation that everybody can see.
Okay.
Well, I gotta get you on the books that way. So you guys
Okay.
agree?
Mark, are there any other planned projects that you know of for the parks?
No, not right now.
Is there something about 3 priorities we need department? Is there any other things that you guys are looking at from the Park Commission?
Right now, we've had some discussions about a new monument up at Crossroads Park on Helen Drive. And that's still in discussion stages, but no other major projects.
What about redoing the small field at the park with a new backstand and?
That's SYAA. We don't have any funds to do that, and they are supposed to be stepping up to the plate and paying for that. But I've been on the Park Commission for 5 years, and we've never seen a nickel out of the SYAA in any of the maintenance, so.
It seems like it needs to be addressed.
We've had discussions, but they
You know
don't.
if they have a budget?
Yeah, like 30
Well,
grand or something.
Yeah, they have their own budgets, but it's not part of the town. They're an entity on themselves. So we can't, town can't force them,
We just let them use it.
short of telling them they can't use the park.
Well, it was an ongoing issue back in '05. I was approached by a parent about the conditions of the field, and there's a disagreement between that parent and SYAA about the use of the funds. And they have the funds,
Right.
and I guess they have chosen not to replace the back. I mean, the baselines have to be all be done. I mean, they're just ruts. Some kid's gonna twist an ankle.
The last conversation we had with them, they realized that they're still going to utilize Conant Park, that Labrie Field will be used for the upper age groups.
Yes.
And that they need to spend some serious money to upgrade those facilities.
It's kind of an embarrassment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to let that happen to Labrie Field either.
Correct. And that's one of my concerns. In talking with Ed, that's just maintaining, mowing the grass, picking up the trash. I mean, that's all he does now. That's all the budget we have. He doesn't do any improvements. We don't have any monies for capital improvements. He's done some maintenance to the play equipment there that we've been able to squeak by through his good gesture and good employees that he has working for him. But we haven't acquired, any new play equipment or any of that stuff down there because there's no funds for it.
That's why we need to use use all our free cash. It'd be nice to place some of it in those pockets, but we can't.
Yes.
So say if you had some money, what would you do?
We've had talks about trying to get some new play equipment down at the park. You know, that play equipment's, some of it's 30, 40 years old. Some of the members of the park commission used to play on it when they were kids.
Whoa.
You know, we'd like to try to upgrade that. You know, the last new playscape that's down there is going on about 10 years old, which is the big playscape down there.
This sounds like something that needs to go in capital planning, right? Go to that committee and be budgeted in. We talked about this when we were developing the LeBrie proposal, that it was clear that there wasn't anything in the budget for ongoing maintenance. And I don't think we can rely on Ed and his goodwill.
Ongoing maintenance should be out of the budget.
But I think what Mark's talking about, I think you should come up
That's
with
more
3
play equipment
projects
and the,
to bring towards capital improvement so as we can fund things out of that, we could maybe do something out of that, but just let us know, you know, what type of projects. If you want us, the select board, to get involved with the SYAA, maybe we can set up a joint meeting sometime. Spring's around the corner.
That'd be good.
Catches and pitchers are down there. It's already started. And maybe we could work out something to get that backstop fixed, you know.
Right. Virginia Ahart's not here tonight, right? She mentioned CPA, there's new changes to CPA monies.
Yes.
Pending, right? Still pending?
I thought it was for improvement of parks, was already passed, wasn't it, Janet? No?
No, not to be able to give money to parks that we didn't have.
Oh, okay, okay. All right.
Yeah, old parks, like
Oh,
Common Park.
okay.
We're hoping that the state
That will pass, hopefully.
passes that, so that CPA money could be used to, down at the park.
So SYA gets their money from the fees that they charge the kids that are in the leagues at a certain age.
Correct.
Do they run right through Little League and seniors where they're using a 90-footer? Okay. Where are they playing now? They're playing behind Norris School? That was the only other 90-footer?
Yep, North School, they play, Conant Park, and I believe that's it in Southampton. That's the only fields we have,
Yeah.
till the LeBrie fields come on board.
Okay. So you can come up with an idea for 3 different things that maybe get on capital improvement, and then
Sure, we can.
get discussions with Virginia's.
Yeah, if they pass that, you know, right now, the reason we got Crossroads Park constructed on Helen Drive was because there was a brand-new project, brand-new park, and we were able to use CPA money. And so that was a project that CPA funded. The highway department constructed it, and people in that area use it. And we've had real positive response from people in Helen Drive area, Palmer Meadow Road Extension, that use that park. It's a passive recreation, sitting, walking trails, and they love it. And it worked out great by having that CPA money to be able to construct it. But we can't use it at Conant Park until, and hopefully they do, pass it.
There was one idea I had back in '05 was having a dog park.
It's like walking distance.
But there were members on the park commission at that time who were sort of resistant towards that. And maybe that's something you and I can talk about. I just need a parcel of land someplace. It seems like something to do for the town, for those, you know. Keep them off Conant Park, keep them in one area.
Correct. Yeah.
Any other issues?
Does the park commission have a time slot? Because I didn't get any.
Do you have the schedule for anything? You didn't get anything?
I didn't see it.
I'll
Forward
resend
it?
it.
Okay.
February 26th, 6:45.
February 26th?
Next week.
At 6:45? Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, thank you.
If I may.
Yes.
What kind of a monument is being considered for that park on the Highland Drive? You mentioned there's some sort of a monument you guys are talking
Yeah,
about?
it's to children that have deceased in Southampton.
What's it called? It's called Angel?
It's Angel, I'm checking.
No, I was,
Yeah.
well, the Angel Park at
Angel Park.
Crossroads.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's an angel, we're hoping to get an angel sitting on a granite angel on a heart, and have little nameplates of children that have passed away. Memorial Park for parents.
Okay, thank you.
Janet, why are you here?
I thought Jenny was gonna be here.
What a challenge.
She's always here.
Is she okay?
I don't know, I just assumed she'd be here. I'm gonna find out.
All right.
I hope she's okay.
Do you have any questions regarding the CPA or anything?
No, I'm here to learn.
Okay. All right. The assessors, how are you guys doing?
We're just waiting for our next meeting with the finance committee.
Tonight?
Right?
Is there anything, good news from the assessors that you're seeing in town, or?
Buildings, good buildings,
Yeah.
seems to be, better growth is good.
Keeps you
Yeah,
busy.
the growth is good. Well, the state has now made a small little change to our triennial. We now have to do it and then go out and redo a certain portion of it, so there's additional cost for us.
Redo it when, annually?
Yes. Well, no, the triennial, you go out, you do the work,
Right.
you do evaluations, and then you go out and you double check your work. So you can go and-
Pass down what you did?
Yeah. Additional cost to us.
State trying to help us. How are tax collections coming?
They're steady.
Yeah?
Yep.
I only asked that because I paid mine, so I would never ask if I didn't. I see in a lot of towns where, there's tax titles going on, and we don't do much of that, which is,
We do have, we
Good.
do every year put people in tax title.
but do we ever, I don't remember last time we had to take any.
There was something up on Crooked Ledge recently, I thought.
Yeah, actually, we just foreclosed on 2 properties that actually, they've been in the works for years, since before I was here, but on Middle Road and White Loaf Road, and there's another one that hopefully we'll be closing on within the next month. That will be deeded, so then we can have a sale and sell those properties and get them back on the tax.
No, if there's a mortgage on the property, what happens when we try to sell it? Does the
Well, these cases are, normally, if there's a mortgage on the property, then the mortgage holder, the bank or mortgage company, will pay what's owed because the town is first in line.
Okay.
So they're not going to lose whatever they're owed, so the bank would always pay it, and then they would foreclose on it or go after the property owner.
So we get our money through that process?
Right.
Okay.
So these are properties that have no mortgages on them.
It's amazing how many foreclosures you see in town. It's pretty sad, yeah.
Now, looking at your line item here, the software support, you haven't spent any of that so far. Because there was a concern before that it was when they were changing over the software in the office, it wasn't budgeted in, and then all of a sudden it was a
No,
whack.
I've spent all my stuff.
Well, I meant for the assessors.
Oh, it
I'm
happens
sorry, I'm
every
sorry.
year because of the triennial.
Oh, that's right,
every
that's right,
year.
yes.
Collected for 3 years.
Yes,
Okay,
so
all
we
right.
get it taken out every year.
All right,
so
you are,
it's a
okay.
triennial and it's not a big hit.
Yeah, that's okay, that was changed, okay.
Yes.
All right, very good.
I did notice one thing in the budget for next year, the consultant line is scratched.
She moved it down to,
That was good news there.
total contractual services, she moved, no, Vision. What did she do?
Who is the consultant?
Roy Bishop.
Because I thought the assistant assessor was supposed to get additional training so he wouldn't have to use
And
consultants.
she's working on getting comfortable doing it. She's had the additional training, but she still needs to be, it's kind of like an apprenticeship, she's still learning.
Because she got additional money for the additional training.
Yes, and she's doing better. She's taking on more and more responsibilities, but he does personal property. He does more of the triennial, but she's still in training.
Yeah, I guess.
So you really need
Training.
Yeah, it's been like
Yes,
3
until
years.
she feels totally comfortable. I mean, it's not something we're going to.
But it's been almost 3 years, I think. So, I mean, that was the whole idea, to have her get trained,
Yes.
give her more money.
Over the next several years, we'll slowly wean her away from having a consultant.
You're looking at, yeah, I guess we're thinking the same thing with that.
Well, why is she getting paid more money if she's actually not doing the job?
She was
Sounds like she's
taking on more and
learning.
more of the role.
Yeah, I guess we didn't understand that it was a long process. We thought it
Yeah,
was a year or two.
yeah, it's just this comfort level. Over the next 2 years, we will be
So
not
should
having
we-
him come back.
She should be prorated, her salary should be prorated then, that she's not actually using the training, shouldn't she be prorated?
I think,
But it
I
does-
think we should let them, they're,
Yes, yes.
they know, ins and outs of it, and
Sometimes
Training.
historical data gets lost, because we were here. And it was a big to-do about how her training would save the town money. We wouldn't need and that was exact words.
Right, and it will. She will be not using
I have to say.
this service in several years.
Yeah, I hear.
We were here. Well,
Yes,
we
no,
were
I
here.
understand.
It was like
The presentation was very
Yes.
much.
It was very good. This, starting next year,
Yeah.
this is how it's gonna be
Yeah.
4 years ago.
We're just hearing it differently. I mean, the person is, nothing against the person, of course.
Right.
Because it is $1,500 if you go somewhere else.
But it sounds like you're saying a couple of years we'll be all set.
She should be set.
Okay.
the select board has full confidence in our department heads and how they're operating this.
Okay, Ann, thank you. Next up. Who wants to be next? Anybody?
Well, we handed in the budget, and
Okay.
so we were expecting to talk nitty-gritty at the finance meeting, but we did start with the zero base, and as you said before, maintenance, for instance, we factored in the roofing and different things like that that have to be done every year. So we've asked for more money under maintenance and a couple of other line items, if it's possible to get, like more staffing. Because in the summer, for instance, the youth summer reading program, some of the time there's no staff in the youth department because the youth librarian isn't full-time. So we asked for more hours just for the summer reading program to put somebody in there with the kids, things like that. But it's all, it's all explained on these sheets, and we'd be glad to go into it with you. And we meet with you March 5th, right?
Take your word. I don't remember them all. But I did have a question.
But for the 3 priority items, it's staffing, computers, and maintenance for the library.
Maintenance, a year or so ago, I may be losing track, we had a custodian taking care of this in the other area, and the monies got transferred over to Ed Colley's area, so he's taking care of it. Every time I hear maintenance lines, I mean, library needs maintenance, obviously, they need money. It always seems like we should have it all under one department for the economies of scale.
We used to have, back in 2005, 2006, we tried to get a DPW formally formed, and then appointed town clerk and appointed town assessor, all of which was shot down at annual town meeting. I think it's,
Remember that,
yeah, maybe we should readdress that, because then it would make it a lot easier for all the departments knowing that we have a DPW, a formal DPW, and they would be taking care of the maintenance.
Well, actually, we've met with Ed Colley, our building maintenance committee, and Ed Colley. We are using the new maintenance man, Paul Melnick. He's actually painted our meeting room. The library hasn't been painted in 16 years, most of it. So, and now he's going to do the foyer, but he takes care of everything else that he needs to, and he's been very helpful.
Do you have Ed, with the general maintenance guy's name's Ed as well?
But we have a custodian, he's only 4 hours a week, Keith Kleber. So 4 hours a week isn't enough. So we talked to Ed Colley,
Okay.
and Paul Melnick is coming.
Also Paul. So
He's very helpful.
the windows on the side towards the driveway, there is condensation, erosion in that area. I was walking through the library probably about 6 months ago. On the far side where the computers are, that wall,
Okay.
if you look at the base of the windows, the metal frame for the windows, there is some corrosion along those lines. And I don't know if you're getting water in there. So you may have Ed Colley or this gentleman, Paul, take a look at that area
Yeah.
and make sure.
He said he can do stuff with glass, so I'll.
Yeah, but just make sure that, there's not an issue developing there, that you're gonna have more costs later on to
So
fix
that's where
it.
the computers are, just.
Yeah, those 2 large glass windows,
Yeah.
and if you go on the inside where the office is, that large window as well, where the staff sits, and that, if you look along the bottom edge of that, you'll find some.
Okay.
back to your DPW question. Would now be the time to revisit that with Ed leaving, and he could help create?
Well, what it came down to is certain members of the public were concerned about losing their right to vote for the water commissioners. Because the way the whole thing was structured, the water commission, the transfer station, the highway department, all this maintenance stuff, the cemetery maintenance and everything would all go under the DPW.
Right.
And because the water commissioners would then go under the DPW, there was no election of water commissioners. So citizens voiced that they were losing their right to vote.
That was then.
That's 7 years ago.
Yeah, that was
Right,
then.
so.
But I'm just saying, you asked me why it didn't,
Yeah.
that's why. And Eileen and I have talked before, if she doesn't mind me saying this, about, when Eileen, we talked about when you might retire, Eileen.
Yeah, next 2 years.
2 years. So that, how you felt about an appointed town clerk. How did you feel about that?
Well, it can get very political.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons on that. At town clerks meetings that we go to, there's a lot of talking about elected and appointed. Being elected, you have to live in town, which is good because you're ahead of the voting, you're an election commissioner, you're a registrar, I think it's great to have people working in the town that live in the town.
But that was part of the whole process, so.
I have a girl that I'm recruiting for my job. She's the assistant town city clerk in Westfield. She lives in town. She would be very good. I keep talking to her. I said she'll be getting less pay, but the hours are shorter. So maybe I can, in that way, somebody will be coming in knowing, the office.
So we can look at it for the annual again.
Right.
I think we probably should.
Yeah, I think the downside
So
to
I'm,
elected is you could have 2 people, Eileen retires, so it's going to be an open election. You could have 2 or 3 people who have absolutely no experience.
Right.
And the popular one gets it, and it's a critical position. It's like
Yeah.
treasurer, it's like anything, it's a critical position.
I'd just like to say, as an elected official, that one benefit that I see currently is that when you're elected and you're paying into the retirement system, as an elected official, you get a full year credited service for every year, regardless of the number of hours you work, because you're paid a salary. If my position were to be appointed because we're only open 4 days a week, then I would not get credit for a full year service for a full year. It would be, 32 hours or 30 hours or whatever it is a week.
So it'd have to be.
So that would be detrimental, I would feel, because I want to get a full year service for every year that I work.
You don't get credit for the Tuesday nights and all that too? It's just, no,
I'm
because you're
just
putting
saying,
more
that,
hours,
to me,
yeah.
that's important, and
Oh, yeah,
because we're not open on Fridays, so we don't have the 40 hours unless, I continue to work on Fridays even though we weren't open, or, I don't know, but I would be against it for that reason, I guess.
And just to back up where this is coming from, to those that don't know, there was a Department of Revenue report that came out in 2004 and had key points on it. One of them was to get a town administrator, which we did go and succeed in doing. And then the other one was the formation of the DPW, appointing the tax collector and appointing the town clerk. That's from the state level. That was the recommendations coming down state. It can be very political. It was just, I supported it because it was recommended by the state. It seemed a very logical way to go. And I still strongly support the DPW, and hopefully we can work through that in the next few months before the annual.
And if we go down the road of, hired officials, we need to sit down with the elected ones and find out what your concerns are, because you're right, that's a big deal.
You have to do it by election and by town meeting to change it over to be appointed. We did that one year, and at town meeting, it was voted down.
Right.
For both treasurer and town clerk.
And the DPW.
The residents felt that they wanted to be able to elect who they wanted and have that option.
So you wouldn't be worried particularly if somebody were elected that was pretty new?
Oh, yeah, I'm worried because my office is so complex with so many different things that to come off the street in that, I had 6 years as the assistant.
And you've been here how many years?
As town clerk since '94. So,
That's 20
and I know Ruth isn't interested in either, because she's up there in age also. But I'm hoping that this lady that works at Westfield will really think about it.
To run for?
Yeah, because she lives in Southampton.
Right.
Her name is, her last name is Roy. And,
Nice name.
Sounds familiar, huh?
But again, I would help out anybody. I would, you know, show them where the files are, where this is, I mean, the town clerk has many files. And,
But you know it could be a popularity contest, and you don't know who would be getting in there,
Yeah.
for the most part.
I know,
And you have no
this
control.
worries, it really worries me. That's why I ran another year, because there was somebody that I wanted to run, and I didn't think, anyway. So I ran again.
So do you feel the same way, so you run again?
She picked the best woman to run.
I'll be 75 by the time I...
Oh, go on.
You look good. Thanks, Ellen.
You're at max
Pluses and minuses.
retirement then, huh? You're at your max retirement percent.
So it's a hard, because I know, you just can't walk into that office and think you're going to, with elections and...
Well, hopefully, it wouldn't be just a popularity contest, that people, if they knew what the job is going to be, and they ran on their record, maybe people would understand that they wouldn't want to put in somebody that didn't know what they were, completely
You could have,
blank.
I could give you a good, what the town clerk does.
Right.
And that could be,
Don't put up your signs unless you have looked at your job description.
If we can put minimum qualifications, which I don't know if we can.
You can.
But when
it's
Donna's
elected.
been here a while, but several elections before you, there was a person that, a selectman, the son was on the board, he was a painter, he ran for the office, along with an assistant who had 6 months. Fortunately, the assistant had 6 months, got it. She didn't have much experience. Can you imagine a painter in there? And he was
he was
unemployed.
gonna resign right after, so they could hire somebody. That's what he said. He was gonna resign the position, and then you could go out and hire somebody.
That made no sense, but
Yeah.
but it is a popularity depending on who's voting there.
All right, thanks,
I'm
Ellen.
searching.
All right, you keep your search up, please. Going back to the library, Jackie was just concerned, expressed a concern regarding the rugs in the library?
Yes, we're going to have them done this year,
Okay.
but it may put us over our expenses section.
Well, John,
John,
this is the
one of the
problem.
three things.
Can you say that again?
Oh, if we have the rugs shampooed, they haven't been done in 5 years at least, it will probably put us over.
It has to be in their budget, though.
We have to have the cupola fixed, but luckily we got insurance money for $2,600, so that would have been a lot of $3,600. We're trying to get the guy to come down, but yeah, those extra expenses may put us over.
Those are the things that really have to shake my head. We can't fix a structural problem with the library.
Right, well,
It's been
mold.
2010, the cupola.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
2010.
So I think one of your line items in your maintenance should involve, and you should put it in, is to have the rugs cleaned yearly.
Right, we have 1,000 extra now under miscellaneous. I think
Well, make a line for cleaning up, okay, because you have to replace them. If you don't clean them, they're going to wear out faster. Then you have to replace them.
Now, the cupola, is it leaking or is it?
No, it leaked in 2010. The leak was fixed. That was only $200. But now to do the cosmetic work, the drywall and the painting, it came in at $3,600, $2,600 insurance check just came.
So you need $1,000?
Yeah.
why didn't you put in a request to us for the reserve fund? This is the cost, here's the insurance, and you're looking for 1,000.
Yeah,
I mean, we can't let the buildings deteriorate.
get it done before you clean the rugs.
Yeah.
Don't do it after you clean the rugs, please.
Good point.
Sheet rock everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, is that cupola like, what does that do? Does that hold up
The
the
cupola-
library? I mean, why don't we just tear it down
No, it's,
and put something else up there?
there's a beautiful sun that comes up there. It
My
comes out of
suggestion
there,
is
it's
if it
really,
keeps leaking and it's broke, why don't you just, you
put an
know,
umbrella.
we can't afford to
There's
fix
other
it.
leaks in the roof, that's not the only one.
Yeah, yeah, it's-
We've had 2 others and other.
You can't just tear that
It's a
cupola
flat
down.
roof in place.
Such a hard name to talk about. I mean, the cupola.
It has a very cute cherub on the top.
yeah, it's really sweet.
All right,
The
thank you.
Light comes
leaking
in.
roof, that's another, I mean, if there's a leaking roof.
But I mean, there's paint, strips of
whole-
paint,
the whole stuff.
it's a mess.
We've been talking about the cupola for
I know,
a long
it's
time.
got to get done.
Could do it.
The rug
I
is
think
scary
we need to have
because
somebody.
the kids play in the rugs. You know, in the
Yeah.
children's section, my kids used to have all these toys and everything, they're right on it.
Going back to the library one last time. Can you all come to one of our selectmen meetings so we can talk about maintenance issues in your roof? Before it gets too far, we'll set aside, well, not right away, but I think we need to look at that and fix a small problem before it becomes a large problem.
Maybe a capital stabilization.
Yeah, we met with Ed, the building maintenance committee, but you want us to meet with you also?
Yeah, we want to,
Sure,
get an idea if we're going to have somebody go in there and take a look at the roof.
right.
Is that the original roof?
Yeah, that's the problem, is right now, after 16 years in the building, things are starting to go.
Well, yeah, the roofs are, I think they get 20 years if I'm not
Right.
mistaken.
That they're supposed to get about 20 years, yeah.
So,
But if there's flat parts to the roof, and so that's where the leaks. Pepin Roofing came in on the latest leak, and that's what they said. But now we have to get Pepin Roofing in to do the scuppers and the gutters, and that's costing us about 600 more than, we used to pay.
we get a final idea.
What, this gentleman here,
I'm sorry?
Chair?
That's who was used before, is there somebody else?
Who put on the roof?
The question was, why do we have to use Pepin?
You don't have to.
I should go up to 3 bidders if it's over 5,000.
Well, the other thing is, if it's 16 years old and there's a 20-year warranty, we should be going back to the person who put it on.
We have to find out about the warranty.
Yeah.
I think it needs a discussion, that's why I'm saying it needs a discussion.
Sure.
So I think it needs a definitive answer and a plan moving forward. You just can't keep slapping patches here and there. And when you look at those windows, you know what I'm talking about. I think you have some issues with water within the building.
Yeah, well, it's getting to the point where we had all the lighting changed. We got a grant from Amico, and every light was changed in the building in the last few months.
Yeah.
All
But you
the
did say
valves.
you're meeting with what committee?
We have a building maintenance committee, the trustees do, Conke's on it, and Norm Smith. There's 4 of us. I don't think anybody here is on it. And we met with Ed Hall.
Just sounds like
We
it's
came
gonna
up
be-
with a 5-year maintenance plan for it.
David,
Yes, I'm
they've
sorry.
come up with a 5-year
Yeah, we
maintenance
have a
plan, and they
5-year.
met with, meeting with us. What are we gonna, I mean, what do we know that they're not already getting information?
Well, I guess, Ann, the question really is, it's almost a 20-year-old roof.
I know, but they have a 5-year maintenance plan.
Yeah, Ed Colley asked us to make a 5-year maintenance plan.
I just don't want them to come into a meeting and
Yes.
expecting that we're gonna be able to help any
No,
more
I
than
think what I'm trying to
other
say
committee
is-
members.
I think we have to look at the larger projects. I think it's going to take a lot of money to put a new roof on that building. And it's getting to the point where it's going to need a new roof. And it'd be better if we came up with a plan right now before everything floods.
Well, no, I agree.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, are we the people to advise them or hear that?
No,
If they have a plan,
Yeah.
a 5-year
I
maintenance
think
plan.
we're the people that would help get it done and make sure we have the funding to get it done, because we'd have to go to a debt exclusion, which would be a
Or
town meeting.
stabilization.
Well,
Yeah.
and if we also have to have the HVAC system retrofitted, the thermostats are going, that's 10 to 15,000.
So right now, it's going to mushroom up into something like
Well, as the
this.
building gets to hit that point.
So I think that's why we need to have it all sort of looked at in one fell swoop and figure out a plan, how we're going to fund it. So before it gets out of control. And not to say you're not doing the job, I think we have all these other resources to make a definitive plan to help take care of the library.
Thank you.
All right. You don't have to go it alone. We're here for you.
Thanks.
Okay? Anything else from the library?
Should we come up with more?
That'd be enough.
All right. Hi, oh, sorry.
Board of Health too.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Basically, the good news is we have no maintenance that we need to do on any building, so we don't have to spend any money there. You're going to see, and we're going to be meeting with finance, you're going to see some increase in costs and expenses because we're doing more than I think we've done historically. We're doing more restaurant inspections, more follow-ups, we're doing more communications with people, particularly problem tenancies in the area. We're also going to be doing more with education and more with, I believe, collaboration with other area county agencies. So you're going to see a little bit of increase in our expenses. Happy to report we have a new health inspector who hit the ground running, is doing a great job, and is part of this plan to increase the restaurant inspections and increase communication with people. One point of clarification, I did watch the Board of Selectmen meeting, I think last month it was, we were talking about a condemnation proceedings at Camp John, and I believe the building inspector reported about his recommendation of demolition, and that went...
I wasn't there, so
Okay, well, I just wanted a point of clarification. That building indeed was condemned not once but twice by the Board of Health. And we believe we did it properly through proper notice. In fact, we did it a second time just to ensure. And in addition to being, unsafe structurally, there was some public health issues that we were very concerned about. Again, also point of clarification, Rich, the inspector, reported that the building was not boarded up. In fact, we ordered it boarded up several months ago and went back and re-inspected it, and it was safe and boarded after our last inspection, at least from the Board of Health perspective. Mm-hmm. So we're doing a lot more than I think was presented at the Board of Selectmen meeting.
What's the timeline on this? Because the last time I heard of Camp John, it was like 60 people involved in the melee. Was it less? How long, what's the time? Yeah, what's the time frame on this?
I'm not sure.
How long has this been going on? Has this been going on?
Years and years and years. And I became aware of that case. I've just been on the Board of Health for several months, and it came to my attention that this was an outstanding complaint that had been pending for years. And when I looked at the file, it was a call by...
So, but Camp John has been open since it's been condemned?
Nobody's living in there, but it's still a public health hazard. I mean,
it's on Camp John Road, it's not Camp John.
Okay, that's where she's confusing me. I'm sorry, to residents. It's a residence, not Camp John itself.
Individual residence.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Camp John.
Like I said, I wasn't.
Correct.
Okay.
So there, I just wanted some clarifications on that point. Some other things that I have actually a question about that is not on our budget, but I think it's appropriate for the Board of Selectmen. We have, the town is required, Board of Health is required, anytime anybody gets hepatitis and doesn't have a PCP, we're required to hire a nurse to do a visit, and that comes out of our budget. So we actually just went to finance and asked to move some money because we had to do that this year and had to spend our money on expenses for this nurse, which is state mandated. But I was told that we could not put that request in our budget for foreseeability of another person with hepatitis B or a similar situation. So
So you use hepatitis A or B?
I think, I don't remember, hepatitis, something that required a nursing inspection. So we're not allowed to put that in our budget, I'm told.
But I think you might put it under consults or something along those lines. You don't want to hire somebody because then that goes, you have to go through QB, PQB, and you got to go through all of this other stuff. I think on a case by case, I think you may have to pay for some per diem nurse to do some sort of
that's what we're
follow-up.
doing, but we're told we couldn't put it on the budget because we don't know, we can't predict if the person's going to get hepatitis.
Right, and I would say to you, there are plenty of physicians looking for patients, and in this one area, you have Riverbend and Westfield, you have Mark Bigda, and you have Valley Medical in East Hampton, and Hampton County Physicians is down here. So in any of those areas, you can find a physician. There's also walk-in clinics that are available. So there would be a way to get that person to be seen by a physician in follow-up or a nurse in follow-up, if that would meet the state requirements. I don't think you actually have to go through the whole process to get, somebody from Southampton to do this. Do you know what I'm saying? That I don't.
Actually, I don't.
You're saying using professional services.
There's no professional services around to use.
We have somebody we're using that we are paying. It's a nurse. It's and she's licensed to do it, and it's $30 an hour.
What has she
I'm
done
saying,
so-
we don't have a budget for it.
But what has she done so far in this past year?
I think we've submitted the expenses. She basically checks on this individual who's non-English speaking, who doesn't have a physician, doesn't have insurance. She checks on and reports back. So
What if there's an issue, though?
I don't know.
Well, I'm
If there's an
thinking of-
issue,
I'm thinking of-
It's not under our bailiwick. We don't have to pay her.
But you've already stepped in to do medical care, though.
No, we stepped in to do an inspection.
She has a license. I think you're opening up a whole can of worms. As a physician, I'm just saying, you've asked somebody to go in with an RN license on behalf of us, as a town, to intervene to do something. I don't know.
But I think she may be saying that this is a requirement.
It may be
If somebody in the community has a communicable disease, the health department has to have a nurse or whomever to go to the home and residence and check on that person. It isn't like they're going to get care and treatment at a facility. It's
If the person
a,
doesn't have a
I'm not
PCP
going
and
to
can't
argue with
report.
you all night, but.
No, I'm not
My
arguing.
concern is that if
I'm
you
trying to
have.
explain what she's saying.
I hear
You're
what
missing
saying.
it, I
You're
think.
missing it as well, Ann. What I'm trying to explain is that this person needs a physician, okay, is what she needs, what he needs.
No.
It doesn't, if they're sick, they need a physician.
And I agree with you 100%, but the Board of Health in Southampton can't control whether or not a person retains a physician. All we can do is require that person to be inspected and examined, if you will, because the State Board of Health requires us to do that. We are required to make sure that this person is not, continuing to be infected so that he
How are you
doesn't-
going to check that, though?
We use state standards, we hire a nurse, the nurse knows how to
I
do
mean,
it.
I'm not trying to beat something up, but we can talk about this later. We can talk about finance or,
You are welcome to come to a Board of Health meeting, and we can talk all about the requirements of
you're
what
welcome to a select board meeting, but I'm trying to tell you that you're sending somebody in who's not going to test any LFTs, they're not going to check their liver, they're not going to do any viral titers, they're just going to go in and look at a person, okay? By
Yes.
looking at a person, you're not going to be able to tell, what their viral load is, how bad their liver is being taken out, if it's hepatitis C. There's no follow-up, there's no interferon therapy. It makes no medical sense to me at all.
but it's not a medical
Would it be
issue.
reasonable to look at
It's
actually the state
epidemiological
required,
issue.
what the state required, and
Table
go
is-
from there?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
I thought you were asking about a
Yeah.
budget issue, and not.
Well, I can answer that one right now, if that'd be helpful.
Getting the requirements.
Why don't you put a line item in your budget for consulting / per diem?
That's what I'm asking, is it appropriate? Because I was told that it wasn't, because we don't know specifically what the specific needs are, so we can absolutely put it in.
Yeah, if it's not spent, it just goes back to the
Yeah.
general fund,
You
that's
can all
fine.
use it for that, and put a little, description next to it. I'm not sure if one of us told you that, or who told you that, but you can definitely put that in. I
Okay.
mean, obviously, you're not gonna put 10,000 in, but put something reasonable based on past history.
We're
and-
looking for less than $1,000, and
Yeah.
we spent $400, $500.
Absolutely.
Whatever's left over just goes back to the general fund at the end of the year.
So the answer is yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes for the exposure for liability, thank you.
And you know what? I'm a liability attorney, and I have to know about exposure
Yeah,
to liability.
I think you need a
Chapter
conversation,
258,
yes.
Section 10, and
Good.
I'm way ahead of that.
All right, any other things from Board of Health?
Not right now, thanks.
All right, for you, Donna, anything for Treasurer?
I'm just gonna prolong this by asking a question. Always go
no.
back and forth. Does our insurance cover us for all
No,
this stuff?
we don't have a liability insurance for this.
I don't know what we have.
First of all, I recognize that we've had these discussions in the past, 6 years ago. Board of Health does whatever they want to do, because they're under mandates from the state. So they can hire, fire, do whatever they want to do in the Board of Health, and we're just responsible to support your financial needs. But I think if the town is hiring somebody in it, we don't have medical liability insurance at all, as far as I know. And I don't know
As
what
far
if
as I
they,
understand, that person's not treating within the meaning of the
Right.
definition of treating. So, and I would, if that person was at A, share of your concerns, and B, you should be concerned about us putting the bill for that.
This is an inspection, but it's a
Like
human
an
being.
inspection, to make sure the person is not communicating
It
disease
is,
to the rest
in
of
a
the
way.
town.
It's not a treatment, it's not intervention.
This is not a treating issue. This is a inspection issue to make sure this person who is non-English speaking and who has no medical care is doing the minimal things necessary so he doesn't communicate that disease to the rest of Southampton. And as I understand it, it's a state requirement that it be done. So we put the bill to do it. But let me echo a concern that you just said, and this is actually one of the reasons that we're having an all boards meeting is because I asked for it. The Board of Health, while it is mandated to do certain things in the state, is a part of this town of Southampton and does do things purely for this community. And I do think that there should be more communication between the Board of Health and other departments. One of the things that I've done, and one of my goals, is to make sure there is more communication, that we know what each other does and can support one another. So towards that end, what I can tell you is we started a Sharps program, and it's not going to cost the town anything more in its line item. We worked with Ed Cawley to use money that he had in his former budget on basically increase of costs for removing new needles from areas. We're using money he has to fund this program that's going to be a better asset to the town and not be costing us any more money than we're spending.
Where are you finding needles?
Great.
As I understand from Ed Cawley, into various locations, and then he has to spend X amount of dollars for somebody to go and environmental cleanup of it. So to prevent the problem,
But do we know how many needles we're finding? I'm just curious,
I can't tell you that. You'd have to ask Mr. Cawley.
okay.
Other towns,
Sounds like
I
a
saw
great
where they're putting
thing.
drop-off boxes for needles at certain places.
What's that?
Yes.
Is that
That's
something?
exactly what we're going to do. Our new health inspector basically did an inspection to determine what we needed, what's the best cost-effective way to do it, and what the cost of it would be, and worked with Ed to see what cost he could bear. And we're going to have, I believe it's going to be in the town hall, a container that people can deposit the sharps in. We basically asked the highway department if we could have a second location at the dump. But Mr. Cawley didn't want to do that. He had some specific concerns, and he essentially said he would pay for individual sharps disposals for people to take home with them, which would prevent their need to have to go to the dump. And again, his concern is that they were finding them in places in Southampton, and we think it'll circumvent people just tossing them inappropriately.
Seems like a good program to have.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Sure.
I know I'm going to open up a big can of worms here, but are you involved in inspecting properties where somebody might complain about animal waste?
Oh, sure.
Yes, and we have, and in fact, the answer to this question is probably going to change in the next few months because I understand the state's changing how we handle certain complaints like that, but we have an animal inspector who is separate and apart from our health inspector, who we pay $3,000 a year. That's on the line item. If we have a regular citizen complaint regarding waste, I would consider that a public health concern. We'd send our health inspector there to examine it and see if there's any potential health problem. If there is, you'd order the remediation of it.
Okay,
So if you have a concern, call my health inspector.
thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thanks for coming out, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Going upstairs, some of you.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome, that's it.
So there's one thing we have to get out of the way, which is the water.
Okay, I got work to do. Okay, anybody else?
No, that's it.
Yes, good to see you. Take care. Take care. Good night.
Bye, good night.
I didn't see that email brought with the dates for.
Go, Reggie. Thank you.
I didn't know if there was a next step.
I mean, we really do any of this.
I just have a meeting. Don't know.
Nothing at this time, no meeting.
No, this is going two things here. Let's just do the warrant for the election. Warrant for the election.
Sign that.
We'll get a motion on it.
Well, you know what?
I asked him.
Take a Congratulations, wonderful.
Thanks, Ed. All those in favor? So it passes and that's done.
Sign it, so registered, yeah, she's gotta get them to sign it too. But then we have to hold.
Okay, so we voted, amended motion, and this is passed.
All right. So,
That's all we really needed to do tonight, as far as I'm concerned. There's no minutes or anything.
right, and calendar announcements.
So the next meetings are the 26th. And these are all like budget meetings, right? Coming up, 26th, the 5th, the 12th, 19th,
That's good, right?
I would've stood up and asked for.
and the next
money
26th.
to pay for it. Start finding money.
Look for it. We start printing money.
Okay.
How's,
We're there, things are moving forward, people are
you
happy.
got some good people coming in, and
The problem is they're all new, so.
but they've got a good attitude, probably.
Positive attitudes, get rid of the negative people. So that's where we are.
Good.
People that just, whatever, have left.
Right, I've got probably another 2 or 3 I'm gonna get rid of.
Cleaning house. That's what happens. When a new boss comes in, time to have people that,
I have a negative attitude, have it on the outside.
I'll see you tomorrow.
it's still hard to kind of, if the job is all encompassing, you're still working all those hours.
I average about 55 a week,
Too much.
still up there.
Wow.
Are you gonna be asking for some relief about, with that, so that you can just have a normal life?
As relief how?
Like 40 hours a week instead of 55?
If I did that, I'd need somebody else there.
Right, right.
I don't know, money isn't there.
Why don't we just call a meeting?
Before you do, would you guys mind the appointment for, continue or closing? What are you guys doing?
I think we covered everything.
Except for the auxiliary officer, did you guys?
The what?
The auxiliary officer?
Take a
Oh, yeah.
motion.
Yes, please. The appointment for the
So
auxiliary
make a
officer.
motion to appoint.
I move to appoint auxiliary officer, do we have a name?
Philip Lanier.
Philip Linier.
Philip Linear.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Passes.
And no
What's an
cost to the town,
auxiliary
we love it.
officer? Oh, is that for the,
It's for the police department. It's like,
The-
it's like a, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Explain yourself.
It's an officer where it's in training where we're not paying him, he's just volunteering in a sense. Then he goes to the academy, and then once he goes to the academy, then he'll come back for the appointment, PCF.
so he's in training kind of mode?
Yeah.
Oh,
No
gotcha.
cost to the town whatsoever.
All right, cool. Is there anything else we have to do tonight, just to keep it short?
That was it.
All right,
Great,
and
thanks,
then you have
Rachel.
the warrant for the election, that's taken care of.
Right?
The warrant is done.
Unanimous, right? Unanimous vote?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Mike and Ed can sign that, and it has to go to the constable, and make sure it gets to the.
And also the-
Actually, I'm not gonna do that because it's only 3
All right,
of you
then
that.
give it to
Give it to,
Eileen,
I mean,
so they
yeah.
have it.
So we took, how many motions, and they were all unanimous?
Okay.
So there's a motion for the auxiliary, there's a motion for the election. Did we do any more motions besides those two? For the auxiliary officer and the
The
election?
special town.
Special town, is there anything else?
No, the warrant, just the warrant. I'm just moving things around.
I think we're good.
They were good.
Let your husband know, I'm waiting to see him this week.
Okay.
He'll remember, say, hey, fire chief says,
Russ,
it's a meter, I asked him about the meter.
thank you.
I move to
He said he
adjourn.
wanted to talk to me, so.
Move to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye.